Google Lens identified the sample plant as the fern Pelargoneuron. It's definitely a fern as there is a crosier present, but probably not Pelargoneuron. While the sampled fern and Pelargoneuron share the pinnate-pinnatified leaf structure, the sample differed from Pelargoneuron as the sample's veins unite at an obtuse angle below the sinus, forming an excurrent vein that joins the sinus. While in Pelargoneuron, the lowermost veins from adjacent segments touch at an acute angle at the sinuses. The sample also has reduced proximal pinnae, while in Pelargoneuron, the proximal pinnae is the longest or nearly so. However, the fern is from the same family, that is Thelypteridaceae, as besides having the pinnate-pinnatified leaf structure common in the Thelypteridaceae, it has a combination of two diagnostic characteristics of the Thelypteridaceae, hyaline acicular hairs on the adaxial rachis and costa, and two strap-shaped vascular bundles in the stipe. Fawcett and Smith list 37 genera of Thelypteridaceae, so having eliminated Pelargoneuron by its differing venation pattern, there are another 36 genera to compare to. As the fern observed was pinnate-pinnatified, pinnate genera were quickly eliminated. And supporting the elimination of the pinnate Thelypteridaceae genera was that they have many veins anastomosing, unlike the sample, which has a single pair of veins from neighboring segments united. And so the sample was not from the genera Ampelopteris, Abacopteris, Grypopteryx, Hoicula, Pronephrium, Meniscopsis, and Meniscium. The single anastomosing vein also eliminated Stenogramma as the unknown sample's genus, as Stenogramma, though pinnate-pinnatified, has many veins anastomosing. Another difference between Stenogramma and the sample is its elongate ex-induciate sori, a characteristic Stenogramma shares with Manisaurus and Leptogramma. Manisaurus is also different from the sample in having subapical proliferous buds. Meanwhile, Leptogramma differs from the sample by lacking a costal groove, as does Phagopteris, Pseudophagopteris, Macrotelypteris, and Metathelypteris. Support for the sample not being of these genera was, in the case of Pseudophagopteris, Macrotelypteris, and Metathelypteris, the free veins, and in the case of Phagopteris, the pinnae adnate to the rachis. The elimination of strophocolon as the identity of the sample was based on characteristics such as its sporangial capsule with setae and front base with pinnae abruptly reduced with many pairs of pinnae reduced to auricles or blades truncate. This still leaves 21 genera which the sample plant could belong to. As mentioned, the sample fern has a pair of veins united to form an excurrent vein that runs to the sinus. Thus, free venation, in addition to other differing characteristics, indicated that the sampled fern was not from the genus Coryphopteris, Cyclogramma, Trigonospora, Pseudocyclosaurus, Glyphyropteridopsis, Plesioneuron, Mesophlabion, Oreopteris, Thelypteris, or Amneuropalta. The fern could thus belong to any of the 11 genera left, but by comparing the endowment, 5 more genera were eliminated as the fern's identity. The sample was hairy on both its abaxial and adaxial surfaces, so could not be Mesopteris, Pacau, or Rehultomia, which lack dense hairs or are glabrous. Type of hair also led to the elimination of the genus Goniopteris, which has stipitate or sessile branched hairs. Cyclosaurus was eliminated as the genus of the unidentified fern, as it has costa bearing persistent flat ovate scales abaxially. Of the remaining 5 possible genera, 2 genera, Amblovenatum and Sphaerostephanos, were eliminated because they typically have yellowish glands and stipes that are stramineous or brownish, while the sample did not show any yellowish glands and has a purplish stipe. The sample was not from the genus Thyropteris or Pneumatopteris, as unlike the sample, they had prominent peg-like aerofoils present along the stipe and pinnae bases and occasionally at the base of the costule. Chingia was eliminated as the species identity due to its distinct rhizome, which is erect and coalescent to 10 cm thick or greater. Thus, the sample was identified as being from the genus Christella. Oldham considered the essential characteristics of Christella are the presence of an elongate unicellular gland on the sporangial stalks, usually a gradual reduction of auricled proximal pinnae 1 to 5 pairs, the universal presence of erect acicular hairs on blades including the veins, and the absence of sessile spherical glands on the blades and on the sporangial capsules. Among the species of Christella found in Malaysia are Christella dentata, Christella hispidula, Christella subpubescens, Christella papilio, Christella parasitica, and Christella arida. The sample's pinnae lobed to a depth halfway to costa indicates that it is probably not any of Christella subpubescens, which is lobed quarter way to the costa, Christella papilio, which is lobed quarter to 1/3 way towards the costa, Christella arida, which is lobed 1/3 way to the costa, or Christella parasitica, which is lobed 2/3 to 3/4 way towards the costa. Each of these species also had other characteristics which eliminated them as the identity of the sample. Christella subpubescens, for example, has lower pinnae remote, very small, butterfly-shaped or mere auricles, and hairs on lower surface of costa and costules, all minute. Christella papilio has about 10 pinnae gradually decreasing in size and a massive rhizome. Christella arida has an apex like the lateral pinnae, rhizome long creeping, and about 3 veins passing to the sinus membrane. Christella parasitica does not have basal pinnae progressively reduced in length and has thick orange glandular heads usually present on veins in the lobes. Species similar to each other and the sample are Christella hispidula and Christella dentata. Christella siamensis, though mentioned as a species in Malaysia, is very similar to Christella hispidula and is an unresolved name and thus will not be compared to in this video. Christella hispidula has been reported as being differentiated from Christella dentata by its pinnae lobed more than halfway to the costa, hairs on lower surface of costa commonly 1 mm or more long, and veins just above the lowest passing to the margins above the base of the sinus membrane. In Christella dentata, pinnae are lobed about halfway to costa, hairs on lower surface of costa are rarely 0.5 mm long, and veins just above the lowest passes to the side of the sinus membrane. Based on these characteristics, the species sampled is most probably Christella dentata or its hybrid. Its identity as Christella dentata was based on rhizomes, short creeping or erect, bearing scattered scales, stipes streaminous to purplish at axially grooved, hairy with scales at the base, scales lanceolate, brown, setulose, fronds herbaceous, elliptical, in tufts, pinnate pinnatifid, lamina narrowly oblong or elliptic, having an acuminate apex and gradually narrowing downwards. Pinnae alternate or becoming alternate distally, lateral pinnae 12 to 25 pairs, sessile, narrowly oblong or linear lanceolate, more or less auricled at acroscopic base, and apex acuminate. Lowest pinnae commonly 4 to 5 cm long, sometimes less, strongly auricled on the acroscopic base with forked veins. Segments oblong subdeltoid, oblique, rounded at the apex, and entire. Pinnae divided 1/3 to 3/4 way to the midrib, rachis grooved, aerofoils are not or little evident, indument on surfaces comprised of acicular hairs, abaxial surface may have tiny capitate hairs, and longest hairs are on the upper surface. No scales are present. One pair of veins unite and produce an excurrent vein that runs to the sinus membrane. The next pair of veins pass to the side of the sinus membrane. Sori are round and medial, and indusia kidney-shaped setose. Sporangia have an elongate unicellular gland on the stalk. Spores monolete. If you want to study the family Thelypteridaceae or genus Christella in more detail, listed are some references. If you found this video helpful, do subscribe to receive notifications of upcoming videos. Thank you for your support.